Hello everybody, this is Manos of Evanic Animation Studios, and today we're going to do a quick tutorial on how to make a street lamp in 3ds Max. This street lamp's going to have a ironworks type, wrought iron type, like almost like a handcrafted look. You know, something you would see in like the historical downtown part of a city. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's click the M key. Call up our our material map editor, and let's grab this first one here, and let's go ahead and rename that street lamp. Okay, and let's click the standard button here, go into our materials, and go all the way down to multi-sub object. We're going to keep the old material as submaterial, and then we're going to set the number to 1 to reset the maps, and then we're going to set it to 4 because that's what we need today. Alright, and the first one is going to be named post. The second one is going to be called base. The third one is going to be lamp. And the fourth one is going to be glass. Alrighty. And that's looking pretty decent. Let's keep this open for a moment. We're going to go over here to our creation panel. We're going to grab the cylinder. We're going to go into our top viewport and drag the cylinder out. Just drag it up. We're going to change the radius to 15 centimeters. If you're doing inches, that'll be about 6 inches, give or take. And the height's going to be 900 centimeters. All of this can be changed depending on where your scene is going to be taking place. Street lamps have different dimensions, so some of them are taller than others. Just depends on what city you're in. But we're going to do the height segments 1, cap segments we're going to leave alone, and we're going to make the sides. We're going to turn that into 8 sides, and that's all we're going to do for now on that. So let's grab our select and move tool. We're going to go ahead and zero these parameters down here out. We're going to start with the x-axis and zero it out. 0, tab, 0, tab, 0. Click enter. Right click here. And let's get our select and rotate tool. We're going to go to the z-axis right here. And we're going to type in 22.5 degrees. And that's going to center this front polygon up with the front viewport. Okay, so we're going to right click the cylinder in our modify panel. We're going to right click, and we're going to convert that to an editable poly, and we're going to change the name to street lamp. Now in our rollout up here, we're going to hit our hierarchy rollout. We're going to stay in the pivot side. We're going to click the effect pivot only. We're going to go all the way down to reset. We're going to hit the transform and the scale. And we're going to go back into the modify panel. Okay. Zoom out. We can hit the Z key to zoom in all of our ports. I'm going to close out the material map for now. And we'll do a quick render. Kind of see what we're working with. That looks all right. But what I do not want the rounded appearance that it has now. What I want is each side to be flat. So let's hit the Q button so that we don't accidentally rotate anything. And we're going to go into the polygon mode. And we're going to go into element mode, and we're going to select the entire mesh. We're going to clear all, and we're going to set the smoothing groups to 1 down here in the rollout here. So we select all the polygons, and we select the smoothing group of 1, and then we go into polygon mode, which you can get to by hitting 4 on the keyboard. We're going to zoom in a little bit on the front viewport, and we're going to select these center polygons here. We're going to clear all in our smoothing groups, and then we're going to set the smoothing group to 3. We're going to repeat this process in the left viewport here. We're going to select just the center 2 polygons. That's the polygons on each side. We're going to clear all, and we're going to select 3. Now while we're still in polygon mode, we're going to delete the bottom polygon, and we're going to spin it around, grab this polygon here, clear all, and we're going to hit 32 for our smoothing group. Okay. Now let's go in here and render that and see what that looks like. All right. Now you can see the sides are nice and flat. So let's go ahead and get to work. Let's grab the edge sub-object. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. We're going to select all these edges in the viewport, in the left viewport. We're going to connect. Then we're going to go underneath. We're going to select those and connect. Then we're going to go in between the 2 lines. We're going to connect. And then we're going to go in between the 2 top lines and connect. Then between the 2 bottom lines, connect. And now we're going to our, pardon, we're going to our rescale tool, and we're going into vertex mode. We're going to select all of those, and we're going to scale them down like so. Then we go back into edge mode, select the bottom ones, connect, and then we're going to select the top ones, connect, select above that, and connect those. Go back into vertex mode, grab the top 2. We're going to drag these down to where it kind of looks square. That's all we need for now. And then we're going to go back into edge mode and one final connect. Okay. So let's go into vertex mode. We're going to do some rotation. So up here we need to select our angle snap toggle. And we're going to ignore these top 2 for now. We're going to select the bottom ones. And we're going in here, grab a rotation tool. We're going to turn it 45 degrees. Then we're going to select these, one down below. And we're going to do another 45 degrees. We're going to zoom in a little bit. And these 2 right here, we're going to ignore those 2. We're just going to select below those. And we're going to have to hit the control button to grab the rest of those. And we're going to do another 45 degree turn. And we're going to go down one more. Do another 45 degree turn. Oops. Hit Control Z to get out of that. Another 45 degree turn. We're going to skip these 2 together, these 2 bottom ones together, just like we skipped the top ones. I'm going to skip those. And then we're going to go here. We're going to do another 45 degree angle. And go here. And another 45 degrees. Okay. Now we're going to, for the final twist, we're going to grab the top ones. And whichever direction you pulled the first ones, we're going to pull those in the opposite direction, 45 degrees. All right. So there we go. We have a nice twisted, hand-worked wrought iron type look on our post. And while we're still in vertex mode, we're going to go ahead and make our base. We're going to hit the select and rescale tool, and we select these in this small area here with all 5 of them, with all 5 of the vertex columns here. We're going to select this middle one. I'm just going to pull it out a little bit until it's kind of rounded. And then we're going to repeat that process by grabbing these bottom ones. We're going to select these. We're going to pull these out a little bit. And I'm going to move that up just a hair. So we select those. We click W on our keyboard. Move that up. And I believe that's going to be good. So we're going to hit the show end result, which will probably get canceled when I do that. But let's show end result so we can see what our smoothing groups look like with mesh smooth on. So if you just put on the mesh smooth modifier, you'll see it makes it round again. So what we're going to do is we're going to scroll down in our mesh smooth rollout. We're going to scroll down to surface parameters right here and make sure smooth result is checked. And then in the check boxes here, it says separate by materials or smoothing groups. We're going to select separate by smoothing groups, and this will give us the smoothed but wrought iron finish. So here we go with our base, and now it looks like we've got a few more things to do, one of which is go into vertex mode in our editable poly portion here. Make sure that you're in here, and we're going to rescale these down till they're pretty much square. And a good way to do that is grab your box right here and then just drag a box like so, and the height doesn't matter. We're going to set that to 28.025 like this one, and that squares this up. We delete the box. Oh, I'm sorry, we don't delete the box yet. We go here, grab our vertices here, hit W on our keyboard to get the select and move tool, and we just line that up with the box. It's a quick and easy way to get a fairly accurate box shape here. So now we go into our select by name port here, grab box 1, select OK, delete the box, and then reselect our street lamp. Now we're going into polygon mode, and here we grab these, and actually before we do that we have to do one more thing with the vertices. We grab these vertices on the outside here, grab our rescale tool. We're going to make it look kind of like a stop sign, and you know that you've got it at about 45 degrees when these lines stop looking jagged. 3ds Max kind of has a little convention here, like the math they do. You see here there's like this jagged edge here. The cleaner that line is, the closer it is to 45 degrees, and just try to get it where it's as close as you can get it. Just like that. Doesn't have to be perfect, because again, we're not trying to get this absolutely perfect. You'll notice in architecture that oftentimes this kind of stuff is mass produced, and it's actually very far from perfect, so you don't have to get it perfect. Okay, we're gonna grab those polygons as I just did by selecting 4 on the keyboard, or selecting the polygon subdivision here. We selected these polygons on the side from our left viewport, and we extruded them just so that they're clear from the rest of the structure. We're going to go into vertex mode, grab these extruded vertices here, and we're just going to scale them on one plane, on this left plane here, so that it flattens the polygons out. Then I'm going to click W, and that's going to move us in nice and close. Then we go back into polygon mode. You can click 4 on the keyboard. We're going to extrude again. The number doesn't really matter because we're going to pull these out by hand and just kind of eyeball it like so. And we're going to grab these vertices one more time, and we're going to hit E on our keyboard, and we're going to do these about I believe 90 degrees on that should be enough, like so. Alrighty, then we go back into polygon mode. We're going to extrude again. Again, the size doesn't matter. And real quick, we're going to kind of zoom in by hitting the Z key. And we're going to grab the, we're going to get our select tool here by hitting Q on the keyboard so we don't do that by mistake. And we're going to assign some new smoothing groups to these new polygons. So we're going to do 2 for those. On the top here, we're going to do 3 for the top. You see we have those 2 polygons there. I'm sorry, we're going to do 4 for the top. And then here, Grab these. We're going to do 5 for those. And when we do our end result, we should still have that nice wrought iron look we're going for. And now we're going to edge mode. One more time, we're going to grab these. We're going to connect them. And we're going to grab our select and scale. Go into vertex mode. I tend to do things in vertex mode most of the time. And we're just going to scale this back out so that it's about the same size, because twisting it kind of collapses it. So we're just scaling it back out. And we're going to look real quick. Nice, even, solid look. And here we go, back to polygon mode. I'm going to select these end polygons. I'm going to slide up here and clear all. I'm going to use 18, why not? Alrighty. Let's go back to edge mode. Select these edges. We're going to connect. We're going to deselect our show end result for a moment. I'll do some work with these vertices. We're going to grab our move key by selecting W on our keyboard. We're just going to drag these out. Now we're going to grab these bottom ones. We're going to select and rescale. And we're just going to kind of line these up with the rest of the, again, it doesn't have to be perfect. We're just going to line them up with the rest of them. These top ones, we're going to pull up. Something like that. Rescale them so they come in a little bit. And then we're going to grab these here. And we're just going to scale these out on this front plane here. Alrighty, when we look at it now, we have a basic street lamp shape. Since all of this is one smoothing group, it's nice and smooth, and since these are different smoothing groups, we have that wrought iron appearance. Alrighty. Looking pretty good. Not too bad. Alright. And now we hit Q. We're going to deselect our show end result for a moment. We're going to grab number 4 on our keyboard. And these polygons we're going to inset by hitting the inset key and then just dragging it till it kind of looks about right. And then we're just going to do 4.5 on that, why not? We're going to hit the check mark, and now we're going to extrude it in by going negative. The number doesn't matter because we're about to move this by hand anyway. I'm going to grab the rescale tool, get in our top viewport, and rescale till it's about that size there. You want it to kind of fit in between these two lines. And we're going to scale it out a little bit, and we should be done there. I'm going to grab the W key, which is our select and move key. We're just going to kind of line that up that way. Now, while we're still in polygon mode, we're going to hit the Q so we don't accidentally move anything. And we're going to hit Control and then left click all of these polygons inside of here. And let's clear all and give a group of 27 for these. And we're going to go to these edge ones and give a group of 26. The numbers don't really matter as long as you know they don't overlap when they're not supposed to. So let's see what this looks like. Nice little street lamp we got there. Go back into polygon mode, or actually take it out of show and result mode. Grab these polygons. Grab our W key, and we're going to hit the shift key. I'm going to drag these down. It says clone to element. That's perfect. I'm going to scroll up a little bit. Edit polygons area right here. It says flip. We're going to flip the faces. And now we're going to go to our rotate tool, which is E on the keyboard. Alrighty, and we hit From there, we hit W on our keyboard to call up the select and move tool. We just kind of line that up a little bit with the other edge, and then we seal the deal by grabbing all of these vertices, selecting R on the keyboard, and then just bringing them down to where they're all even, like so. Alrighty, let's go to element. We're going to assign, matter of fact, let me assign the material to this now. Let's call our material editor up and put our material on our street lamp. Let's go back into element mode and hit the Q on our keyboard. We're going to select 4 for this, for glass. We're going to select the other element, and we're going to select post for that. And grab this one. We're going to hide that selection. Go to polygon. Select these polygons here. All right, that's going to be lamp. And then these bottom ones are going to be base. And we can just select it right there. Base. All righty. And we go to unhide all. Let's have a quick look-see here. Not a bad looking lamp at all, but it still needs a couple of tweaks. One, we grab these top vertices. Let's hit Z on the keyboard, make that go a little faster. Rescale, and we're going to rescale on both planes. Then we're going to use the W key. Drag this up a little bit. And I'm going to go ahead and turn that another 45 degrees. Alrighty. I'm going to grab the edge tool. We're going to connect those. And grab the rescale. And we're going to flatten these out. Then spread them out just a little bit, like so. Then we're going to hit our W key. And we're going to slide these back just a touch. And slide these back just a little bit more. Kind of round that out just a little bit. Now, for the rest of our lamp, we're going to grab these vertices. We're going to pull this out and up. We're going to pull this down and out just a little bit. In fact, I want that up a little bit more. And then we're going to grab this whole section here, move this up like so, then move this up like so. Alrighty. Now we're going to do a quick render here, see what we have. And the last thing to do is just dial in the materials. I'm going to keep it simple. You're welcome to use whatever materials you want to use for this. And of course, tweak it. You could tweak the glass here and whatever, however you want to make it. If you want it to look a little different, give it a little bit different shape. Of course, as needed, as much as you want to do, as much detail as you want to give. You'll be able to, you know, adjust this to your taste, you know, to your heart's content. But we're going to go ahead and hit M on our keyboard. First thing we're going to do is the glass. The glass on these tends to be either white or like a off-white yellow, like this right here. Okay. And they tend to be relatively opaque, but not so much so. So I'm going to put the opacity to go ahead and do like 51. And we're going to do two-sided. And the self-illumination is going to be 100. We're actually going to bring that down to like 75. And let's zoom in a little bit and see what we have. Again, if you want to make this with an architectural material, like actual glass material, that certainly makes it look a little bit better. That's going to slow your render time, so keep that in mind. You know, especially when you have 1,000 of these in the scene, it's better to use something like a standard material like this to get a relatively realistic effect than it is to get a super realistic effect, but it costs, you know, an hour and a half per scene of render time. I'm gonna round that out just a little bit more. I didn't quite like how that looked. And of course, you know, you can kind of just tweak this as much as you need to tweak them until it gives you the effect you're looking for. And just real quick, grab him, bring him in a little bit more, see if we can get that. Yeah, just a little bit more rounded. I wanted that to be a little bit more rounded. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. You can tweak these as much as you want. But back to what we were doing. Let's go to the material editor again. What we're going to do now is we're going to add a reflection map to the glass so that we're right here. See a cube map here somewhere. Again, you know, this also is a good way to get a reflection on a material without having too much in the way of render time. In other words, instead of ray tracing your render on the reflection, you basically just use a bitmap and it gives you a reflection, whatever reflection you want. And you can make a DDS map out of your scene. It takes a little bit of time, but it saves so much render time that if you have a DDS for each major scene you're going to use, then you can use that for your reflections. And it pretty much renders this with no noticeable difference. If you put a ray trace render on here, the ray trace render is going to render a much more realistic reflection. However, it's going to cost a lot of extra time if you have a lot of these in the scene. So if we're looking down a street and we have 25 of these down in the scene, that's 25 times that the ray trace render is going to have to make that reflection. Whereas with this, it's basically just like any other bitmap you would put on the material, except for it's with the idea of reflection. So as this moves in the scene, the reflection on the bitmap moves as well. So you get a realistic bitmap reflection. I mean, a realistic reflection. And again, it saves you a lot of render time because street lamps and stuff like that can really, really add up in a scene really quickly. So let's go ahead and look at that again. I kind of like how that is. It looks pretty reasonable. We're going to slide up here a little bit, and we're going to make a kind of a, for the back of our lamp, we're going to make basically a metal material. You can use a architectural metal material for more realism, but again, like I said earlier, you're going to have a sacrifice of render time. So if there's any way we can do it with these materials and get a relatively decent result, you know, I try to do that instead. So I'll just give that a little bit of a yellow sheen as well. And let's render that and see what that looks like. That's not too bad. You throw a light in there, it wouldn't be too terrible. And let's see, last thing here, let's look here. I'm going to make a basic material for the base or for the post and then copy it to the base and change the color. So we're going to need some glossiness here, a little bit of specular level adjustment and glossiness adjustment, because I want it to be painted looking, but I don't want it to be super duper glossy. So go ahead and copy that. Oops. Go ahead and copy that to the base by dragging it down, selecting copy. And for the street lamp itself, I want it a little bit lighter. I'm gonna go here and go with like an almost green. I've seen a lot of those over the years, and kind of like this right here. Here you go. Let's render that and see what it looks like. Alrighty, and there is your basic street lamp, and as you see, it's realistic enough. Real quick, if you want to throw a you won't be able to see it here because there's nothing really to target, but if you wanted to put a light in it, I would use a standard light target spot. Just go into the housing from the side here because everything is centered, kind of towards the back here, kind of point it out a little bit like this, then grab your move tool, grab the base, and we would just kind of stick him in there like that, and then of course adjust that as needed. And as you see, you have a street light with a street light pattern. You can get into your light parameters here and change, of course, the intensity, the color. The color would certainly be like if it was a sodium vapor light, it would certainly be more of a yellow tint, and the decay would be most likely inverse. Multiplier, you'd have to change that as needed depending on your scene. And your spotlight parameters, you can change the hot spot like so, and the fall off like so, because they tend to have a pretty big fall off, and the spotlight's pretty big too, or the hot spot part's pretty big as well. And there you go. Again, very basic. You know, I'm trying to show you guys how to do things that are you know, cheap renders, but still give you a somewhat realistic effect. And like I said, we're not going to see that light here because there's nothing to bounce off of. But here's a basic idea of what our street lamp would look like. And let's go ahead and throw a couple of omnis on there real quick, just to give you an idea of a scene. Where you can actually see the colors and whatnot of the street lamp, because it would be totally black. When you put one light in the scene, it makes it totally black if you don't have any other lights. So that would be like a typical night scene of your street lamp. And again, this is kind of like an old world look. You can tweak this as much as you want. You can round this off if you want. But this is the basic approach to making a street lamp that is easily renderable, that's not going to cost too much render time per frame, and still gives you a fairly realistic result. And again, like I said, this can be tweaked. All of the settings and the standard materials can be tweaked until you get a very, very realistic result. So it's up to you basically how realistic you want it. But again, just keep in mind, the more realistic it looks, a lot of times the more it's going to cost you when it comes to render time. But my name is Manos, and I'm working for Evanic Animation Studios, and I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. There'll be more to come. Thank you very much.